Yak Oxatini Takat Yuhan, can cheese hat ye adi, ya hayukatangi daat. Ye awa Ch'áagu ḵáax'u, at ya hai awa ʼawtuli.át, Katulatini. Aqawe daat, wuch in ʼawtuli.át. Ch'áagu tuasagu, ya taqo'a, wutusatin, itcha yaq, khosakoqo'a, dekina khasati. Ye awa khosatin aya, wekutia, hitchukak ayi. Aqawe khosatin, Tlingit ayi, awaq aya khosatin, dekina yak, dekina awa at Ch'áagu. Ho awa ʼawtuli.át, Ch'áagu. Ye awa takatwe at yahai Tlingit uste. Aqo'a Ch'áagu ḵáax'u. Hadaye ti hakida ḳáax'u. Ye awa ʼawtuasagu. Wan qanins Tlingit qinaq aya wuchin ʼawtuli.át. Ye awa aqa kigaqlitzin takata yuqatangi hatud. Kagachtu aq. Aqa awe yagachtutlaq yuhan. Ye awa aqtundatani yaha yuqatangi daat. Chish ch'adu sadu tuasagu ya yidatqo'a. Yuqayla'a. Wuchin. Kunahen saisatin.
Nask.
Ya awa galchish. Shaki atqo'a kun saisatin.
Ch'áagu.
Gwallqa shadanaqi khasati. Hoqo'a sheshukhake duchiwu gwall just ga gwalli.
Khwasaku. Weishu sheikh. Gwallia.
Gwalli. Qa has du shakir aya tlachya at kachosakukho'a daat qayat atsu.
Dachlein.
See? Oh,
We. There's cheese.
Khataka.
Gwash goed stukken ʼawtuli.át.
Oh. Okay. Ch'áagu on dulichen. Hoots dugu.
We shaki at da khwasatin.
Yet again. Yeah, awa da dugu.
Da
Chitzin. Yeah, awa.
There's cheese.
What's Okay.
Shadahani. Ye aya o we. Tset. Kun.
Okay. Yakaka. Tukoni. ʼuntaksakshwe aya we hit klein kustiin. Ya yidet qoa Ch'áagu genki uyech qaisa an aya yidu saklet qaqinach kasan. Du ayich sati sanihat aya du sai. Qa we qichkhana ʼawt'u Tlaik tsiqhutzati. Yat ayach hit. Wasa achtu wasagul de kat Tlingit anika. Weta naka hiti qutzati. Eka. Man qalins. Shit kak ayach wasaku. Hit klein qutzati. Shit kakwan naka hiti. Kwalkiwe yidu wasaku. Ye awel de kat Tlingit ani atinach yati. Ya tlaik qutzati. We a daat ʼawtuli daki hiti klein. Ya wasaku eka aya. Nich kach udistini. Ya Tlingit hitki. Deikina hitki. Tsutskan hitki.
We hat a ха age.
Hechasaku. ʼawtuli.át. Gwell acha qoa.
To
Nachte. Klein acha dacha.
to acha awe
Yaka.
gonna sheesh.
Dasawayata. Dasawayeji.
That's It was a good.
Fin aga.
Dasa.
Fin aga.
Hechasaka. Akak aya. Budundi gwatl. Ye awachwatu. Shkalnika qutzati. Gudachsawe. Nachain kadusnei at hosku. Qaq awe. Qa'i wudutletu. Qa'i awe awtletu. Adekadusnei nachain. Yisakut janwu ḵáax'u atinach qayati. Aqa we tea. Gwell tea aga. Chai. Gwellach. Helkadein chasaka. Daqasa atinach qayati. We asdalluni tea. Yak egun chish. Wuch in aya. Would the tooth we janwu ḵáax'u qati. Ye awa adedulliechia kakain. Ch'áagu kakini. Ya yidati tuwa gesagu atlein dana atinach iyati. Ye awe qoa Tlingit ani ka chosatin. Kutia aya watuwa yidat. Nachain qoa tlaik. Yewa achtuwasagu nachain awe wutuwa Ya Ch'áagu dujiu atlein dana. Gwell Alaska, gwell Tlingit na haida Ch'áagu. Yewa adati tuchta tanksu. Wasa we yis at Yagachtu tlaq. Yahanach sati gwell nachén ya yidat gwell shaki'at gwell tz'aach yis'at hatuwasagu we hanach sati wan qanin tzqo'a kel yekuge awa hadana yi dasa wuchwatuahin we wuchwatudahin awa hanach sati Kleinach dakqa daklawedi qa awa hastu shadahani khanakawanik yewa achtuwasagu ch'altakat we ani daklawedi achtuwasagu dana aya we dana dakahiti tude has awati Ch'áagu we tlaitqaqinach membership aqawe takat dis atuch haskaghtati ye awe achtuwasagu aqa kalqanashkideq sati we hanach sati ye awe khatsu achtuwasagu qonnach q'altsini at awe nachin qatz'aach tsu qakutia helch'as ch'agut qu'u ayiqo'a keitlia tla'us go kit qo'a a itiaga sayichi kudakhsahas qakuqsa yehas wuti
Yaktata kunafik ewewe anyadi uhu.
okay
Shayatin dadugu.
yak has kwashe Wujach aya hastu kudatsi
Kudziwe Wutsaqa Tahun Wutsaqa we now Tlingit daat again.
kwashe saku we kutan kahitish kalni naq eqi wutsaqa awe qutsati wish kalni ktin Ch'áagu we qa qanat qwaya du ayikh wasatin wal Ch'áagu yatayakh Waita awe an awak we at kutatan hiti Takana hit to you do a sock, takana hit. Ye yeel, Gunachu aye wuti. Ausatin de keek awe our claims at e, at has coutly yeech. Wasak showe. A day would the keen. Ausatin Gunachoe de keek at wutlahash. We hit clain. A yeech away just the cut we hard kutsati. Ye awe klech heen yech ye haswuti we ga. Just we jittidana ḳáax'u aya hasa yawadlaq. Yak klein. Ayek de we ate haswu kuch kunach de kiech. Yeesh cha ye wujit klech ayach uti. Qanash gidek has atinach a atinach has yati. Gaat. Achawe. Qanat qoya khand u gut yeesh. Ho aya de jiwu. Naq tl'eqi wutsaqa. Ye awa yeesh qewus itu agesigu wush de seqan aya e wutsaqa yi. Qaqat aya saqs qachunet. Haqat tlek. Tleshacht wa ashka. Tlitsin atu ye yiti ya wutsaqa. Yeesh. Ye awa ye yawsaqa. Ya chunet tsu. Qat saqs tlitsin atu ye yiti. Nisitin ga yudu we janmu. Qunach nalli ye janmu aya. Sha da ye wuti. Ho awe kuk kwatuk. Ya ach saqs qachunetitin. Qanat qoya qoa. Tlesh yak gitlaq. Tlesh ade. Yewe ye tlesh chunet usti. Tlesh chunet. Wasadu sakwa. Tsiqini awe. Tsiqini khusati tu chuneti. Tsiqini awe ye awe shakawa ja. Ade na taqin. Islutin awe kuk gitak. We janmu. Yewe ye awa tuk. Janmu awe awa jak. Ho yak wush de seqin ye gachtu sidni. Ye awe ayawa dlaq yawut saqa. An awe awa kech. The katu litsini tin na kawa aqowe. Yande awa khud. Kesha yawa dlaq qoa. The katu litsini tin. Kesh ade. Yande. Unach tsuya. Qanachawe. Wushet uch. Ya de kesh qoa. Aye wuti. Tsahwel. Ho away. Ye yaw saqa. Ash yaw saqa. Qanat qoya shi gashi. Ye sha awashi. We achitin. Ayanach litsin. Aqa yande awa. Awsakhat. Ho awe ayawadlaq. Hey de shuwatan wikahat. Aqaltakatwe nadayi hinich awe. Uqaq. Stakatwe khat. Ye awa adati tuchtatan. Tlayata khasatini kalchish. Iti aga.
That's the way at an clear lleog sacco. Yeah.
Yataga? Tuyak? Ch'áagu. Qualtuchach.
Mm.
Yeawa. Schauchtlenik, daat. Yeawa choach. Wasatu sago at lleuch we ochre tleitchach einach. Yisakuga.
Ochre can be yellow or orange.
Wasatu sa lleuch Tlingit einach lleuch. Ja asai to asagu Tlingit einach. Katchatse och up. Lleuch choa. Lleuch gwell kahak kahini. Uchin aya ushchut wadu hai. Aka away. Do yak ayayik kwati wan kanins. Khanyak yati at. Ka awa. Khoach Ch'áagu. Has du Ch'áagu. The kat Ť'áagu. Yat away has du Ch'áagu. We ḳáax'u. Wan kanins. Chin aya has du Gie wuti. Kwatl katleuch has du shakike wuti. Aka ye awa kahisaku. Helwasa o til de katat kaduwu yel. Kullagawu gawu koa. Kull adawut ye kukwati. Has du shakik aya. Shaki chin awa has outle yechen. Abul yechen. Aka yisatin. Atrawe tlel kwatl akayeti. Tlel lech. Das du shakik aya. Has our ducht. Has du Ch'áagu. Qayisaku. Adawut gawu aya. Quig koa. Wan qalins quig qoneya quahig. Tuch ten aya wudutli yech. We yani qaya yani gwetli. Ya yani gwetli. Achawe hasti tawasagu. Wudusku. Hastu tuwu uniku. Quig qoneya quahig. We qa qonit qanai. Hastu ya. Awe has awulqu. Chuya qonit qanai. Itu nigu. Itu dakh aya haska kwa uz. Yewe Tlingit qusti. Achawe wan qanins we quig yahai yisatin. Tuchach yati. Hastu yak. Ye awa Tlingit qusti. Qonaya yakuhig. Yan has ausene. Wan qanins. Hastu ya. Has shwunni quatlin. Ye awa ya yidatsu. Ye awa khoach wan qanins. Ya. Chiwan yidu asago at. Yata yach. Wait uch ni quatli akaye yati chudechi a. Aka yata yach awe. Chuya. Shkadal. Sheesh.
Jeez. We a high dachadushu. Okay.
Yatake.
That we could da on yeah
Book. Shaya Dahenia.
has hit ka
Yatake.
yeah that we could ida on yeah has jikwane hit ka we could lida.
Oh, yeah, away. Yak. Yeah.
Daat.
Oh, daat. Wasa ye jil to cut Johan.
Wait. Like in a dirt roof. Hit ḳáax'u.
Okay. Gosh, achowe kutlita awe tujiu. At a kachake hasakawa ha. Yekusha. Hasitua sakutsu ake chukan. Kekakwa a. Hit kak. Wanachsawi.
Cheese. Wesha what? Natskadushu. Jinkat. Yahai. Hastu tlego. Tlek.
Takas. Yataka.
Wesha what? Hastu tlego. Shaklikei kunach.
Yeah, wa. Kadane aya. Has awuna gwetlin. Awuni gwetlin. Ya has to yuk. Datin sa gwell bwegao. Chashak achcha wutin. Ni gwetl kuhida yi wudutla yech. Ye awech wa ach. Hechasaku asa duasako at kaa. Kleit chakinach guard here you duasako. We chashak achatach. Ye awe ye tlieti. Chanakawa ni gadat. Daukasa ituasaku katat yachsa. We ni gwetl kuhida. Yet atsu. Cheyi. You do a sock, we chashak achik aditu, hini, nach sati. Ye awe, ye ska awe chwach asai, chweyi, Ch'áagu we ḳáax'u nigu, tuberculosis you do a saco, at one qanins, yet a qoa at luk, a qaoe, has to two kikuchtlitzin. Gan chish. Dasatsu?
Wait, whoops.
Look.
Wait, what? Sachu. Dasa Tlingit Chinach's pie plate hat.
Like ʼawtuli.át.
Tsuyayanaka.
ʼawtuli.át.
Okay.
ʼawtuli yehaswatua sa. Gwell hasawe anushi hasausatin. Uhan ha'ani de aya haswukuch haswutlitz is. Ch'áagu we anushi. Shukwa anushi qoat. Tlech ha'ani yande hasayawatlaq. Tlech yan hasayawatlaq. Ye awechwa ach. Kuksa. Yadu. Shit kuk. Gwell anaki de awe wedu. Tlech tu aqo al tu yachyati. Wusha awe we qa. ʻaqa'awe we qis qunachawe atunach yakanadin. Ach kawachel aya wan qanins tlidzi we wushla atiqa akhuch aya wuquchu. Ya anushi qoa we an ja atuwan ke haswuti has ausitin Tlingit ane qudzati qa kanach. A joy under Ch'áagu has ʼawtuli.át has ʼawtuli.át aqa'awe ate has awacha tlelquch has wutaquch da qunyagi qanach aya tlelquch has wuquch itcha has a kawa aqtsu kelhasaya watla tlelquch has wutaquch a joy we anushi yak klein we has to under unayi kende has our Kunyaki sakshawiya wahi gwalnaska dushu Tlingit Ch'áagu has to khande yana koch ke I aya kainach ka anushi e ka ta watle huch the katakaku hasa yauta koch nechte a itcha ko ana ut ani de wash ana ut has ausatin we anushi yak yik ku'u has to Ch'áagu we daya has ʼawtuli.át Tlingit wutusitinsa gwall ana ut aiqo a wutusitin wega a choy ana ut Ch'áagu yutusak gwall kiwe
Daqasaway, dayuqiyatang.
we ana ut Ch'áagu
Yake
ye awa
beads
kawut aya ye awa
on yeah, gonna cheese.
Akia kwan ʼawtuli.át.
oh ye awa yak kwan gwall has to sukpiak aya has to yuqatangitin ya taqa we huchi ai ya khana kakaktilatin kitlaqa ay shawat kal tu sik aya tu I awlatu ate tu akiye gwal kiwe shay khat tin da akhlis ko klein da agen qaq ho awa awahun shqagwe Ch'áagu takhonach has awshaguk ate da akiye qaq
Hak ge kua agade.
qaq oe gwall wita qa
Kua agade ge. Weshawat ada ak.
Geta shawat ak du sik tsu aga
Dolores ina kawanik we shot ʼáax'u has chatlak we kuk took has our ark we shot ʼáax'u.
Okay. Gwell a de qonne has to I wudl tuwen ya.
Kunach
Okay.
Sidzi well de kuk took ḳáax'u agia. What is yaksha?
Okay. Yeah, what? Oh. Okay, can cheese you. Oh, it's okay.
Ach lich du tli. Yasika. We kakokai. Each weaver had their own pattern.
Oh, okay. The cut way at the aki has to akai awa has to GA wutian. Hechasaku their own. Okay.
Ya is shawat kak alsiech duyetki teen duyetki satin itla yisa itla kak alsiech we yishawat seek hulu kak ach wakshiek do yishawat kasigu yakyati huch
Can cheese. Yat a dat you tankatsu. Gosh sai kusti. The cut way kak akai. Hechasaku koa. Tlingit enach. Weka. George Emmons away you do sagan. Hachu ayaye wutian. A kawa ako a kaushahid atlain a hakusti dat. Ye away we nachin dat chuchu Ch'áagu dachawe kudziti. A sago aya a kaushahid. Gwashwe kuk dat awa a kaushahid tse. Gwashwe kuk a kaye yati. Tlingit sago hechasaku koa. Which a good akai. Wasa do a sakwe akai. Glade kake na hisakuge. At the akich gwash.
Pattern again.
Gwash a sai.
Design.
Like
Imbrication.
they gotta have names, right? These patterns, don't they have names?
Oh wait,
Motif?
Yeah, but there must have they're like coyote tracks or something. They got names, right? They must have had names a long time ago.
Like
Sea wave pattern.
I have this one Alaska Tlingit basketry book. It's kind of old. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Is that the Emmons book?
It's this one. Oh wow, I didn't know that thingy was set up like that. How do I make the camera normal?
I don't know.
Oh, this one.
It's ook.
Spruce root basketry of the Alaska Tlingit. I just found it I saw it on eBay and then I snagged it.
So Emmons made one about the Chilkat blankets, and then it was there's like a first edition, and then there's a newer edition revised with, and Nora went in and tried her best to update the Tlingit that was in there so you can have it in sort of a modern orthography. And so it's got a bunch of names for stuff in there, but I was wondering if the basketry one had it too.
Shadakuch, some of them had ḳáax'u. It's like the design was like this.
Oh,
ʼawtuli.át.
I gotta fix this thing.
Down here. See where they come up.
oh, yeah, okay.
There's another two little white one. Garage sale. ḳáax'u. All kinds of names. Kanata, Akai, Awe, Awe, Audigan. Awe.
Go back to the other one.
There's this really great book. I can't remember what her name is. It's called Spruce Root Basketry of the Tlingit Indians or something. It's written by a Tlingit lady. Oh, that one. Yeah, it's got a bunch of names. They don't have like Tlingit documentation of a lot of the names. There's also like a lot of the patterns. I'm off in English now, but I don't know how to talk about all this in Tlingit. But a lot of the patterns are like the same as in Raven's Tail. So they're like similar names.
You have like all these different descriptions of different weaves. I'm not a weaver, but this stuff is really cool.
Yeah, there's all sorts of terms in basketry that need to be translated. Like, what do you call false embroidery?
Huh.
This is really cool. Do you, if you don't have this, I can copy pages and like upload it. Maybe we can figure out ways to like label stuff.
What would embroidery be? Kadisne? Is that it, or is it kasaka?
I'm not sure, because it's like what you do is like you wrap it around the outside weft. Like when you're actually weaving it, you like wrap whatever the false embroidery is around the outside weft. That's why they call it false embroidery, because it's not actually like going through the thing. It's like just on the surface of it.
This one's called the Labyrinth, it says. So I'm sure there's some terminology we can pull. Just like shark's tooth.
I don't know how well you guys can see it in that camera shot there, but this is a false embroidery too, where the pattern comes across and goes up and then it stops. That's ḳáax'u, like a frog's back. I think it's book too, but that one now Digan has some Tlingit Ch'áax'u Klein Yik first basket Icht Ch'áax'u too.
Dolores always uses these terms too, like to talk about baskets, like things that are probably from the language. Like she'll say, like when she describes a pattern, she'll talk about it like spiraling like a sea snail or something like that, which I'm sure is like a translation, but.
Yeah, so if a ḳáax'u is embroidered, so ʼawtuli.át would be, I think, embroidery, or maybe ʼawtuli.át. Yes would be fake or counterfeit, so you could call it ʼawtuli.át. But you know, again, we gotta sort of like run these things through some kind of committee.
Some of the hard stuff is they do try to write some things in Tlingit, but because of the spelling, like I have the hardest time with it. Like especially with all the dashes and stuff. Like number 3, like I don't know if you can read that.
I can see it. I'll check
Like,
it out.
Can you spell it in chat?
Like the lightning or something.
Oh, Terry Rothbard, when Kay Parker did the lightning for Yeshkuwu, Terry Rothbard said it was the same design that they originally called Glacier.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe I should make some copies if you don't already have it. Do you want me to upload it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So ḵáax'u is a skin of a fish or a frog. Dúk is the skin of an animal or person. Dúgu is the removed skin, so it would be the hide. So ḵáax would be the skin if it's still on there. ḵáax'u would be the skin if you took it off. King David Katzig said Tlingit ʼawtuli.át was the word he heard for like the atmosphere. So awesome. Well, there's a good project, is going through and listing some of those names and finding some of the old, if there's old spellings, and we're able to sort of take a pretty good stab at updating those spellings. Because there's these evolutions of writing systems. I think there's a bit of a updating guide in Emmons, Tlingit Indians book, and then I think I was trying to make a shortcut, and maybe Jeff made one, and maybe James made one. I'll get you folks the decoder key for the old ways of writing Tlingit.
I think there'd be some that would probably be pretty easy to get, like this mouth track of a woodworm. Just the way it says it too is ʼawtuli.át, and that's that, like the wave. But I mean, mouth of the woodworm or mouth track of a woodworm would be easy enough for, like, if we're if we're redoing it. We got the book. How many of us have it?
Oh, wait, are you referencing this one? The old one?
No, Cheryl Samuel has this book. It's called The Raven's Tail. I can't remember. It's got all these patterns in it though. It's not that one. I think there's probably patterns in that one, but
Okay.
Sheesh.
So we'll maybe some separate work sessions on the Weaver guys, but like same thing. So the artwork, the basket weaving, the woolen weaving, they're all going to need some terminology, right? And some of it is finding the old way and then like updating the spelling. Some of it is finding what it was referred to or what it's become, and then just translating that, like this is a worm track. That's all it really means. But you could say, like, you could make it more detailed if you want to. Then lightning is ḥáax'u, so it's the thunderbirds something. What was it again? Blinking.
There's even one in here that's Ch'áagu inside the same book.
So that would be a helmet tail. Is that right?
ʼAwe. That's what it says right here too.
So it's pretty fun when we get into this stuff, because like we got to remember that frogs have different skin than people, and fish have they have the same skin as frogs, and then fish have the same kind of tail as a bird, probably a beaver, but then like a dog's tail has a different name. So just little sort of category things to keep in mind as we translate stuff over. And then there's the weaving has its own verb for the barks or roots, as opposed to the yarns. So sort of generally thinking back and reflecting, I just want to continue to point out that the chat is always open for English. Like once we're doing Tlingit only time, feel free to use the chat for English and to even chat with each other to help. Like if you're getting a little confused, or if you figure, like, if you just want to sort of have that as a conversation to just continue to sort of, but don't use it as like the place you really talk, but use it as a guide to help if it does help you out. Oops, I spelled halibut wrong. I was texting with ḳáax'u today and I spelled something wrong. And then I tried to spell again. I spelled it even wrong in a different way. Oops,
Some
now
of
it
the
says.
early writings, I was doing a research on my dad on the census, and they didn't count the natives, but if a native happened to be available in the city, they counted them and wrote down their Tlingit name. And it was amazing how easy it was to figure out, maybe because I knew the names, and I would just picture the person. Of course, in the census was 1900, so they wouldn't exist when I was growing up, but the names are passed on, so I knew a lot of those names. It was really interesting to look in the census of that time.
Okay.
Mm.
Nora wrote a poem, and it was something like the census taker comes and asks a Tlingit elder, how old are you? She says, ʼawtuli.át. So he writes down 52.
52.
Any other language reflections? I want to do a quick.
Sure, I got something really quick. So I don't speak very much during the language sessions because I turn off the volume and I'm repeating everything that you're saying. I understand a lot of what you're saying, and what I found my difficulty I'm having is I'm not trusting myself. It's almost as if there's somebody in another room that I can hear talking. And sometimes I'm in line with that voice and I can just let it come out. And other times I hear it and it's like delay or something, you know, where there's, but it's there, and it's frustrating because sometimes I doubt myself. I look it up and then go, I should have said it because the time has passed. But so there's that. And then I had a question about the art. So I'm doing a lot of illustrations and graphic art on my own. I know that I'm from ʼáax'u and the Ch'áagu people. So I know I can use the salmon container pattern, and I know that I'm from the bear house, so I can use the bear tracks. Are there other, or are there any, because it sounds like they haven't named anything, are there any proprietary issues you have to worry about as you start to make your own stuff?
Well, as an artist, it kind of depends. Like if you're practicing, I think then there's a lot of, you can do a lot. You can try out a lot of stuff. I'm not a big fan of like making unicorns or you know, everybody's got their own thing, but I kind of like to stick to what the things are. But I think it's pretty wide open. Once you start to sell that stuff or make it for public use of some sort, then it becomes a little more of a doing the research and making sure you've got the proper clearance. Like if you become an artist and then a clan member commissions you to make something for them, then you just research what their clan does, and then that opens the door. But just generally, and then it's a little slippery, just like, should you make a Thunderbird, or should, if it's for practice, then I think try it out. Just try it out. But if you're selling it, it kind of depends. Like the open market thing, ravens and eagles are pretty safe. Other things, there's lots of killer whales out there, but it kind of depends on the purpose and the audience. Once, the best is when the clans are someone from a clan, or the clan is commissioning you for the design, then that gets really fun. Or if it's for public, like a big kutija or a ʼáin, and then you've really got some options there.
There's really, really strict rules about some of the artwork in regards to the Tlingit style. I think Drucker has a really good description of what style the Tlingits use, and even talks about Tsimshian and Haida. And it's really interesting after studying that, then you can recognize which is Tlingit, which is Tsimshian art. But in regards to beadwork for the women, it was wide open. There was no restrictions on what colors and what kind of beads they use on the designs. It was wide open.
Yeah, and then you'll see like there's different clans that use the bear, and they'll make the bear different depending on the clan. So there's quite a bit to study there. Okay. Okay. Well, let's practice some future verbs. We only got 10 minutes left, but we'll get this started and we'll pick it up on Wednesday. Wednesday we'll start again. If you folks are feeling it still, maybe the same set of pictures, maybe I'll try and add a couple more if you got other ideas too, like things you want to talk about. And then maybe this will be the last week and we'll move on to something different as far as our conversation starters. And then we'll also just sort of try and get through this future lesson. But it might be fun too, maybe next week, to start talking about maybe weaving and carving and beadwork, and just try and figure out a whole bunch of stuff that we could put together over the next week to sort of make that our topic of conversation. We got a number of other things coming up. There's a season change potentially coming, and so yeah, but so let's just jump back into this for a few minutes. So the intention here is to just drill the future form. And whenever we're doing like conversation in Tlingit, just remember, like, communication is more important than perfection. Like, we're not into perfection at all. We're just trying to just say some stuff to each other. But like, so my goal is to like sort of move on from the future and then maybe jump into, I don't know what we'll do after this, what's most helpful. We did perfective, we're doing future now, just to look at how to put these things together. One of the things I want to stress is some futures are going to have K in front of them, some are going to have yay in front of them, and some are going to have nothing. What is the rule behind that?
The conjugation class.
Yes. So when you look up a verb, it's going to give you some information here. So this is, when we look at this, the verb theme, so it tells us there's a capital O. Let me zoom in here. Wow. So there's a capital O, which means there's an object. There's a capital S, so there is a subject. So you're going to have to pick those. You cannot remove them, so you've got to keep them there. So now you've got to always remember. And then you're going to have the classifier, right? So this is a zero group classifier, so we should expect it to be nothing or ya. A is the root. This little x, what does that little x tell us?
Invariable.
Invariable. So it will be A, long and low every time, every single time, won't change. In the parentheses, this tells us the conjugation class. So this is a ga verb, which is that generally upward kind of a thing. It's an event, and it's transitive, which is just reinforcing there's both an object and a subject. Then it gives us the definition. This is for the subject to find the object. And I think of this one as not really looking for it, you came upon it, right? So this isn't like I was looking for my keys and I found them. This is more like I found a set of keys outside, right? So to come upon something. But I've heard it used both ways too, to find something by looking for it. So, but if it is ga, then it will have K in front of it for all the futures, positive or negative. And if it's qa with an underlined G, then it will have ye in front of it for every future. So that's why we say tsu ye ikqasatin. And the ye is low tone, right? K, ye, upward, downward. But they're really just sort of helping us to put it in the future, but there shouldn't be, because sometimes we find ourselves guessing, just throwing a K in front of some future verb, but that's only if it's ga. If it's not, if it's zero or na, there'll be nothing in front of it. You'll just go straight to the verb. So when we look at putting these things together for this drill, first thing we say, is there an object? Yep. So the third person should have a in front of it, which it does. Is there a, these will all have subjects because we're going through the subjects. Then we look at the root. This tells us it's invariable. And then we look at the conjugation class, right? So we have ga and zero. So we have k and nothing. This one has no object, which is why here it says subject. So if it says intransitive, that means either the subject or the object, one of them is not there. When it says subject intransitive, there's only a subject. So you don't add an object to this one. So this is the difference between ḳáax'u and ḳáax'u. So ḳáax'u has an object. I'm going to sew it, a shirt, a blanket, my embroidery, right? Well, yeah, that would have ka, sorry. I'm going to sew a shirt, I'm going to sew some moccasins, whatever. But when you say ḳáax'u, I'm going to sew. That's what I'm doing tonight. I'm sewing. Doesn't matter what I'm sewing. It's just all about the action.
Does that, like, ʼawtuli.át, would that come before or after that too?
Say it again.
Would, like, if you were sewing ʼawtuli.át, is that coming before ḳáax'u or is it after?
It could go either way. So that's the sort of
Okay.
octopus tentacle things. I'll probably, and it kind of depends, like what's the context? Like if someone says, what are you going to do tonight? Then you say, I'm going to sew it, moccasins. Or if someone says, what are you going to sew tonight? Moccasins, I'm going to sew. So kind of whatever comes first is the most important piece of information. All right, so if I was just going to say it just generically, I would probably say ʼawtuli.át ḳáax'u. But then it wouldn't be with the D because you're sewing those things. Right, so that's really what the object says. Like, are you doing this to something or are you just doing it in general? So if we look at these as we go through, oops, I'm missing some things in the chat. Okay. Yeah, okay, so yeah, we can do some phrases, okay? Yeah, we'll work on some phrases now. I'll put some together for Wednesday. That's probably the next phase, right? So like, I'm gonna find, that could be a little interesting, but we'll go through in some of these, like, so yeah, this one makes sense, right? ʼawtuli.át, we're gonna sew over there, right? You say, ʼawtuli.át, we're gonna get together tonight. We're gonna sew. Right, so this one, if I say ʼawtuli.át, that means bring your sewing stuff, because we're gonna get together and sew, like if that's something we do. Okay. So as we start sort of looking at these again, one is sort of getting some of these concepts, K popping up, yay popping up. Also just starting to just reinforce some of the rules. We should expect all of these stems to be long and high unless they're invariable. So this one, qa, all the futures should be long and high. The other thing we're going to start looking at is what does this prefix look like? ḳáax'u, ḳáax'uta, ḵáax'u, ḵáax'uta, ḳáax'í, ḳáax'íta, ḳáax'í, ḳáax'íta, ʼaq'ua, guchta, gachdu, and gachdu, right? So just sort of looking at and then starting to predict. So we're just going to look through quite a few of these with every possible classifier. So this one is 0, 0 plus D. The next one going down is going to be S, S plus D, L, L plus D, SH, SH plus D. And we're going to look at how they change when the classifier changes. But we still have kakwasha and kakwash, right? So you'll start to detect a bunch of patterns here just in terms of how these get put together. Then you're going to guess them, right? So then we're going to take turns guessing what the verb is going to be. So I'll say it in English and then you'll say it in Tlingit. But then you're gonna realize like the patterns do become more and more clear. And so maybe so next week on Wednesday, what we'll do is Wednesday we'll look at the pictures again just for a little while. We'll probably try and keep it short. But just so we can at least start with talking, right? So same pictures, we'll look at those same pictures. A couple of them we haven't looked at yet. Then we'll try and finish this future conversation. We're gonna do it. And then over the weekend, maybe we'll all put together like a little narrative, just saying like something about the future so that we can just write a little story about like, what am I gonna do in the post-COVID world, right? So it could be whatever, just think of something, or maybe we'll do what we're gonna do this summer, making summer plans. How about that? Because then that's all gonna be future verbs. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. Cheesh.
Wané, Katea Huntline. Jinak, let it go. I will let it go. Takwasaka, way future. Jinak.
Anybody want to stab
I
at it?
will let it go. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So let's do a little walkthrough of this without looking, so we don't have to look it up, right? So if we know that Januk is the command form, let it go, right? This is Elsa singing on the mountaintop, right? So when we hear Januk, now what do we know about this verb? What's the conjugation class? We should know it.
Nah. No
Well,
prefix.
We would expect jinnanak, right?
Oh, nak.
It should go low, right?
Yeah, so it jinnanak, so nak is the verb root, which it has the na in it. So yes, so jinak. So there's two things. One, that we don't hear any conjugation prefix in there. The other is it's short and high. So a command that's short and high is usually a 0. So if this is a 0, that means there's no K, there's no yay. So we go right to the future form, which starts with j. What comes next? What's the I'm again? Kakwa. And then what should the root be? What should the stem be? It's gotta be long and high.
Nuke.
Knock.
Yeah, away.
Kwanak.
Jikwadak.
Kwanak.
I'ma let it go.
Way j.
Right. So my hope is once we go through this exercise completely, we'll be able to become very accurate predictors of the future.
Sing it on.
Okay, ḵáax'u is going to start the next class with singing the
Go to
entire.
the ice caves and sing it.
Guliyatki kuna hasitu asaku ke haskachtishi. Okay, gonna cheese.
Cheese.
Dinatish.
Tish, bane.
Sausage.
Cheese.
Pinaschish.
Okay.
Gook. Oh, go on, let's say. Their all-time favorite song. They're over here singing it ever since you said it. Gook.
Sing it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work on the translation for the whole song for us.
ʼAwtuli.át. They're out here. They always listen to class with me, and they're out here. They're like, "Mom, did you hear Uncle Lance? He said it's like Elsa's on a mountain."
Shush.
They instantly started singing.
Okay, gonna cheese.
Cheese. Sí, Christine.